Welcome to Running Hot, Action Network's motorsports betting podcast. I'm your host, Nick Giffen, predictive analyst here at Action Network. And joining me, my co-host, Stephen Young of Roto Grinders, better known as Stevie TPFL. And this week, we're talking bets for the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona International Speedway here on Running Hot. Last weekend at New Hampshire, Ryan Blaney overcame, of course, some early rain. We started on the wet tires, and then he held off a late charge from his good buddy Bubba Wallace to take home the Dollar Tree 301 after leading a race high 115 laps. Bubba Wallace finished second, and Josh Berry, again, continues his good run of form, 4 straight top 8 finishes, finishing in third to round out the podium. So, Stevie, what were your thoughts on the race at New Hampshire?
I hated the start with a passion. Take 45 minutes and dry the track really quick. Like, I get the rain tires and I understand it, and I understand if we want to do it in the middle of a race to kind of speed up the drying process, but you started the race an hour early because of weather, and then the weather hit right when you started the race an hour early. Like, they could have waited 45 minutes, had that track pretty much ready to go, and I think the racing at the beginning would have been better. It was entertaining, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying that wet tires not entertaining. It's just, I don't know. I'm not a huge oval wet tire fan in general, so maybe I'm just biased in that aspect. But I mean, the best car won the race. Ryan Blaney was the best car. He won the race. Good for him. He was really fast. Josh Berry was awesome. Couple strategy calls where they probably could have been a little different, and he probably would have won the race as well. Bubba did his short flat track thing. It was good to see him. Bell is right there. He just, he's right there. He's just not winning these races. But I want to give a shout out to Noah Gragson. He had speed in practice and was popping, I know, on your flags. He was popping in my practice model as well. And sometimes it's hard to trust that stuff, but I was proud of Noah, man. He did his thing. He had speed. He had a legit top 15 car, and he had a 10th place finish, legit. So a guy that's had a lot of rough go over the last few years, this guy was ultra talented when it came to racing in Xfinity O'Reilly. And I think he's super talented. It's just, they got to kind of figure it out over there. But it was really cool to see him finish 10th, and Priest closed the gap on SVG, which gives us a little excitement for this weekend. But overall, man, I thought once we got off the rain tires and the racing, outside of just not being able to pass the leader, which is New Hampshire in general, I thought the racing was fine. I hated the start, and it made me unbiased. It made me really biased for the race in general. But I'm happy that Blaney or Berry won, because I think they had the 2 best cars just in general.
Yeah, I thought Blaney, Bubba, and Berry all had the 3 best cars, and it was pretty close between the 3 of them in terms of my race flags. So definitely think the right drivers ended up 1, 2, 3 in whatever order you wanted to consider them there. But yeah, I mean, the start, it is what it is, right? NASCAR said they're gonna, and they've said this for years now, multiple years, that they're gonna run with rain tires when it's damp, and it was damp, so they decided to go. I guess that kept people from having to wait around longer. But also, I kind of missed not missed, but I wasn't paying attention to the start as much, because obviously the IndyCar race was going on, and that was such a big deal. But I thought the racing was really good at New Hampshire. I really enjoyed the racing, so definitely thought it was a good race. And Josh Berry continues his run of form, but now that we're moving away from the short flat tracks, we'll have to see, does his run of form continue, because he, of course, is still looking for a ride. And totally agree with you on Noah Gragson. My model had value on him to finish top 10. I think I had it at 13%, and he was 12 or 13, even 14 to 1, I think, out there post practice and qualifying at some books for a top 10 finish. And I didn't end up betting it. Definitely should have, because Noah Gragson, kind of like Josh Berry, has been on a good run of form at these short flat tracks, and has been good at New Hampshire in the past as well. And pulled home a top 10 finish after looking good in practice, like you said. But we're through that stretch of short flat tracks, those 4 in 5 weeks. And this week, we are heading to Daytona. Yes, we are back at Daytona, the world center of racing, of course, for NASCAR, and of course, the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Daytona this time around, Stevie, is still the race before the playoffs, but it's not winning you're in anymore. So it's certainly going to change the dynamics of Daytona a little bit, But there's so much to talk about this race, Stevie, that I'm excited to dive into this one. Of course, Daytona being a 2.5 mile steeply banked drafting track. We all know it. It's one of the two big drafting tracks, certainly races differently from Atlanta. But there's going to be a lot of changes as well. We'll talk about those, but talk about just first of all, typical racing at Daytona. Then we'll dive into the changes after that.
Yeah, I mean, man, so much changes too. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. And I really think this race is going to be more aggressive than years past. Like the whole win and you're in thing. Like, yeah, sure, but this week, like some of these teams, like let's talk Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Right? Like, so like him, I think he's just a perfect example. Front Row Motorsports, like they haven't won, and like they're running out of opportunities, and I don't think they can compete on the intermediates. So, I mean, you're looking at Daytona and Talladega, like, let's be aggressive. We have nothing to lose now. Like, Ty Dillon, AJ Allmendinger, we have nothing to lose. Let's go be super aggressive at Daytona. So, I think the racing in general is going to change a lot at Daytona. Plus, the changes I think are going to make it where we're going to see bigger runs and more blocking. But the racing here typically is aggressive and you want to run up front. I don't think we'll see as much fuel strategy. I don't know. I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, I don't know if we're going to see what we've seen in the last 9, next gen races at Daytona with this package. NASCAR kind of threw everybody a curveball a few weeks ago, and it's just like, okay, let's see what happens. No practice, maybe no qualifying, because I live in Florida. I live 20 minutes from the racetrack, and it hasn't rained here in like 3 weeks. And it's consistently rained all week, and there's like 90% chance until Monday. So I wouldn't be shocked if we get like rained out qualifying and we don't get to see these cars like with this package until they race when the race starts. So yeah, I mean, racing at Daytona and Talladega, usually the pack racing, the drafting racing is completely different than what we see almost everywhere outside of maybe Atlanta. And it's just more aggressive in track position nowadays. But who knows with this new package? I'm interested to hear like your thoughts, and we'll go over all the new package stuff because it does make a huge difference. But I'm not necessarily throwing my hands up, but I do think that it's going to be a very aggressive Daytona race this weekend.
Yeah, it certainly is interesting because I could see reasons for it being more passive just in the fact that it's not winning you're in. Winning you're in is so incredibly aggressive. We saw guys just being absolutely desperate to try to get their way into the playoffs. We've seen Austin Dillon win his way in a few years ago when we also had the rain debacle. We've seen Harrison Burton win his way in. So there's definitely massive aggression on winning you're in. But like you said, there could still be a lot of aggression even without winning you're in, because a lot of these guys have their only chance to win all year. And, we've got some playoff implications going on here in terms of the playoff bubble, the cut line. So that certainly changes the dynamics for some of these drivers as well, because none of these drivers can win their way in, right? Ryan Preece, he could win and still not get in if SVG and Austin Cindric get the results they want. Same with Brad Keselowski. But they'll be gunning for the win because that gives them the best shot at getting in. And then meanwhile, if Preece looks like he's about to win or Keselowski looks like he's about to win, SVG and Austin Cindric need to try to be near the front as well to kind of maintain that gap, or at least be close enough, right? So they could get in the middle of that pack and be caught up in some kind of big one. There could be all sorts of chaos. So, and that's not even talking about the new package stuff. That's just talking about the implications of this race right before the playoffs and the no longer winning in, but still the current playoff dynamics. So a lot of interesting things to talk about in this aspect, of course. Normally we talk about like how to handicap Daytona. Well, it's still going to be the same. We just have to kind of plan for the level of chaos. So Stevie, just what are your thoughts on these playoff drivers, Ryan Preece, Brad Keselowski, SVG, and Austin Cindric, in terms of what you think their strategy could be like throughout this race?
Pedal to the metal. Penske typically likes to run up front, so I think Austin Cindric. If I'm in Austin Cindric's camp, like I don't want to be in contention for anything after the second stage. I want to go out and get as many stage points as possible and put a huge gap on Ryan Preece and not even be in the conversation. So if I'm Bubba Wallace, Austin Cindric, like I'm putting this away as fast as I can. I'm going up there. I'm running for stage points. I'm being super aggressive. If I wreck early, I wreck early. I'm going to go out being aggressive and I'm not going to be passive, is how I would approach it if I was those. SVG, I think he has to be aggressive, but he has to be passively aggressive because, I mean, he does have a buffer, right? Like, he is in a pretty good spot. What is it? 31 points, I think, is what I read earlier today. Where SVG is over Ryan Preece. I don't necessarily think Brad has a chance unless a lot of stuff happens and like he just dominates the race and leads and wins both stages and wins the race. So I think Ryan Preece SVG is where the conversation is. I think SVG has to be passively aggressive, and I think Ryan Preece has to go out and be as aggressive as possible. Him and Keselowski, I feel like Fords like to run up front anyway. So I think Brian Priest, Brad Keselowski, they're going to push each other to the front as much as they possibly can here, and try to run up front. I think Ford in general, whether it be Cindric, Logano, Busher, Blaney, Priest, Keselowski, is the interesting conversation from a betting perspective because I think they're going to try to win both of these stages. Don't get me wrong, Toyota will try, but I think Ford is kind of where we're looking at for these stage bets because I think they're going to be very aggressive with their pushing and just nothing to lose kind of race from all these guys. And if you're Joey Logano, like you're within Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson now. Like before the season started, we had the conversation of like mathematically you want to be top 7 to like have a chance to win the championship because of the, as you quote, summer of Logano. We are now talking like Joey Logano has a legit chance to be top 7 and beat Larson and Elliott this week. So like, he's going to be aggressive. Blaney is in a really good position to finish second, so he's going to be aggressive. So like, I just think when we're outside looking in from a points playoff chase like perspective, we're like Ford has the great opportunity for all or nothing type of week. And I hope that answers the question that you were kind of asking me as far as like playoff drivers, like, all these guys that are at the top, like Tyler Reddick wants to catch back up to Ty Gibbs and Ty Gibbs wants to catch Blaney. But at the end of the day, like where the movement is going to be this weekend is like 5 through 10, 5 through 11, and then 12 through 16. And again, you really want to be in the top 7 mathematically to win a championship.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. So a lot of playoff implications here, not just for making the playoffs, but like you said, for jockeying for position in the final regular season standings, which translate to playoff points. It's 5 points per position up until you get from third to second. It's a 10-point gain. And then from second to first, a 25-point gain. So definitely a lot of implications here for the playoffs as well. But of course, the big news for Daytona is the new package that will be running here. NASCAR is trying some things to get the racing a little more, I guess, less claustrophobic, if you will, because these cars are just always so stuck together. There's no room to break away, create holes. It's definitely been really hard to make moves, especially late in a race where everybody's just 3 wide and stuck in their lane and can't go anywhere. So NASCAR has reduced the rear spoiler from 7 inches down. I think it's 3 inches. And as a result, right, that means when you reduce the rear spoiler, cars are going to be less draggy. So they're going to go faster in a straight line. So that means as a result, NASCAR has reduced the horsepower a little bit to compensate for that. So cars will be faster on their own. If we do get qualifying this weekend, you should see qualifying speeds increase, but the pack racing should still be about the same because once you get pushed out in front, that lower drag, it will give you a further push out front, but the lower horsepower will bring you back to the field. There will still be a draft. So it is hopefully the idea is to create it a little more like we've seen at Atlanta in terms of the style of racing and some of the older super speedway racing we've seen. So Stevie, how do you think that impacts things? Because it could impact everything from how the things race to how chaotic it gets to the fuel mileage stuff that we've been so worried about and talking about a lot at super speedways in recent races.
Yeah, I think it's going to change a lot. I mean, when you're looking at, we haven't seen it, so we're looking at numbers, we're looking at projections, we're looking at what they're expecting from the NASCAR perspective. There's a lot of really smart people developing this stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I know we're all like, oh, next gen failure, like that's like the talk, but like I think the next gen, for what it's worth, is like making a lot of right progress in the sport. I think there obviously needs to be like, and that's just what the sport is in general. We have to make the sport safe. Like the thing that happened with Dale Earnhardt, like people forget it because it happened 20 plus years ago. But like, the biggest star in NASCAR died in a NASCAR race. We have to make sure these things are still safe. So, all that being said, sorry to go on a rant, but like, I think it's going to make runs bigger, which is going to make blocks bigger, which is going to make accidents happen. I mean, that is at the end of the day, I think that is the biggest difference that we haven't had with the package that we've been running at Daytona is like the art of blocking. Why has Denny Hamlin won the Daytona 500 so much? Why does Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, why are these guys up front so much? Because they are really good at the art of blocking, and they're really good at the art of making a run. Why is Stenhouse so good on super speedways compared to other racetracks? There is an art to this racing. And when you look at it, I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see more runs, more attempted runs, less fuel saving, bigger blocks, potential more issues because we really haven't had to make big blocks. Blocks have happened a lot slower, but the design from what I've read is that we're going to see much faster blocks, much more opportunity for bigger runs, which all sounds fantastic in the aspect of like, I hate fuel saving races. So when I'm looking at this from the outside, looking in from a perspective of, we do this for a living. We watch a lot of races. We dabble in a lot of data for races. I think we're going to see bigger runs, more blocking, bigger blocking. And I think that is going to create entertaining racing, but also going to open up a lot of opportunities where some of these drivers, might get your $1 million top 10 parlay type of race. So it's going to be interesting, but I mean, that's my perspective. My perspective is bigger blocks, bigger runs, more potential.
And with all of that, because you can, like we said, get pushed out further ahead, and then that causes bigger runs. What comes with that is more space. So you can move from the back of the pack to the front of the pack a lot easier than you could in these past few races. The only way you could before was obviously with the fuel saving stuff. The guy like BJ McLeod would be like, screw it, I'm not fuel saving, I'm going to the front. But once it was go time, it was so hard. If you weren't in the top 8 or so within the the top 3 or 4 rows, if they're three wide, I guess it would be like the top 9 to 12, you weren't going to win the race. Even with 15 to go or 10 to go, you weren't going to win the race because you couldn't get through that stack up in front of you because there was no space. Now there's going to be more space. There should be a more maneuverability to get through the pack. So 20 to go, 15 to go, 10 to go. If you're 18th, you're not out of it. You're absolutely not out of it, especially with the big blocks that we could potentially see late. You're just not out of it. Whereas unless there was a big wreck in front of you, you would have been out of it completely. So I think this is definitely going to change things. And I'm curious to see how it changes the fuel racing dynamics as well. So yeah, a lot of uncertainty here, Stevie. Any other thoughts before we dive into these bets? Because I definitely am going to have some thoughts on my bets that could be potentially narrative based, but any other thoughts here?
No, I mean, the biggest intangible always for Daytona is weather. The other intangible is, I think we see a lot of aggressiveness points wise. It's not winning you're getting in anymore, but you got guys like Riley Herbst, Ricky Stenhouse, John Hunter, Eric Jones, AJ, Todd Gillen, like all these guys have the potential to win at Daytona, and like they are in a position where it's like, hey, we literally have nothing to lose. Like if you're a Ty Dillon, you're 33rd in points. Like let's go try to be aggressive and win at Daytona. So I think that's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind here going into this week.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And maybe it does open up the door a little bit more for kind of an underdog winner. Cause I think the last few big super speedway races, your Talladegas, your Daytonas, outside of Carson Hocevar, which I wouldn't necessarily count as a massive underdog, but it feels like the big dogs have been winning a lot of the recent big super speedway races. We saw, last year it was Briscoe at Talladega, Blaney at Daytona. Then it was Austin Cindric at Talladega and William Byron at Daytona. And this year, of course, it was Tyler Reddick and Carson Hocevar. So, we're talking guys that are in the top 8 to 10, 12. And outside of Cindric, who's a super speedway specialist, like these guys, all the big names are winning the big super speedway races, whereas these big underdogs, your AJs, your Gillens, haven't been winning them, and they haven't even really been finishing second or third a lot lately. I don't really count a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. because he's a big name super speedway driver, but some of these underdog stories I think have a little bit bigger chance now if we have something like this. So that's one other thing I think that matters for the betting side of things is, I think there could be some value in some of these really long shots. You mentioned the potential top $10 million parlay type thing. That absolutely could come into play, or a manufacturer type parlay. So that's kind of our thoughts on this Daytona race. So let's dive into the bets. As always, we'll drive through the race stage by stage. We'll give a shorter odds pick in stage 1. Then we'll each give another pick in stage 2 with some longer odds. Finally, of course, we'll take the checkered flag and end up in victory lane with our combined favorite victory lane pick, which is an easy one for us this week. So I can't wait to get to that one. But we're going to throw the green flag on the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona and fire off for stage 1. Okay, first stage here, Stevie, you are going to a top 10 pick. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the name that I kind of said a couple times here, and that's Ty Dillon for a top 10 plus 350. Shop this around. You can find this a little bit better, here in Florida. This is, Hard Rock's numbers. So kind of looking at this, like if you look at the next gen era at Daytona, Ty has run 7 of those 9 races. He has 4 top 15 finishes in those 7 races. But if we look prior to that and we go back a little bit farther, like this is a guy that has a top 5. He has 3 top 10s at Daytona. One of his best tracks per average finish has been Daytona and Talladega. And he kind of has a middle towards the back of the field type running position at these races with the next gen era. And I think that we kind of look at it, we're like, all right, that might actually work a little bit better for him if the racing is aggressive. And we do see a lot of chaos here with big blocks and stuff. So plus, again, I just kind of said it. He's 33rd in points. This guy has nothing to lose this weekend. Let's go out and try to win a race. I don't know if he'll necessarily have what it takes to win. I think he could potentially be in contention, but a top 10 here at plus 350, showing some early week value just on a lot of these top 10s that are longer odds, because I'm putting a little bit more chaos in my model this week because I do expect a little bit more chaos. And again, he's run 17 times at Daytona. He's finished on the lead lap 11 times. That's half the battle. So just going to go here for a top 10 plus 350. And we've cashed this a lot in the past. I think I've hit it 2 of the 3 times that he's finished top 10. So I like the potential if this race does get a little chaotic.
Yeah, when I started at Action in 2022, right before the Daytona 500, Ty Dillon top 10 and Ty Dillon top Chevy were 2 of my big bets for that Daytona 500 in 2022. And he got passed by Chase Elliott with a foot to go for 10th place, which would have been the top Chevy. But I bet Ty Dillon all the time at these drafting tracks. So I love this pick. We've seen Ty Dillon have some great super speedway races. And remember the duels, he was leading. I thought he was going to win the duel. He just took a block wrong from his teammate, AJ Allmendinger. Not a block, but a push wrong. And they kind of both faded back because of it. If that push had linked up perfectly, Ty Dillon would have won his duel. I think that was last year. And we've seen Ty Dillon running up towards the front even this year in some super speedway races. So definitely love this call. Ty Dillon top 10 at plus 350. For my stage 1 pick, and I rarely do this, Stevie, I'm going with a shorter odds top 10 bet. And I'm going to take Denny Hamlin for a top 10 at plus 175 at Caesars. I don't mind plus 165 at FanDuel as well. And hear me out on this, Stevie. Denny Hamlin, if you listen to his Actions Detrimental podcast, said he thinks this race is going to be more chaotic, and he has nothing to race for. He's locked into the first points position, guaranteed regular season champion. So he doesn't need to get in the mess in stage 1. He doesn't need to get in the mess in stage 2. And he thinks these big blocks, these big pushes, some guys aren't going to know how to give the right push or take the right push with this package change. That's going to create accidents, and Denny Hamlin's going to hang back and avoid them. And when there's only 15 cars in the lead lap at the end of this thing, you can bet your bottom dollar that Denny Hamlin's going to be in the top 10 of those. And I also like him to win this thing at 25-1 with that space opening up, with him being able to come from the back to the front, with this style of racing changing more to what he used to be able to do. 25-1 is fantastic value on Denny Hamlin to win at FanDuel. I love this bet. I know it's narrative driven. I probably don't have betting value on the top 10 in terms of my model, but I love the narrative driven part of this. So I'm going to say it anyway. I actually haven't even run my model yet because obviously NFL season is around the corner and I've been focusing on that. And the Daytona model is so easy to run. I'll get to it, at some point here before the weekend. But I'm completely narrative driven. Denny Hamlin, top 10 plus 175 or plus 165. And I even love 25-1 to win here this weekend if he's avoiding the chaos.
Isn't it funny that like we're talking about how all these big names have won at Daytona and Talladega recently, and we're getting Denny Hamlin at 25-1, a guy that's won the Daytona 500 3 times. So on top of that, you nailed it. Like he has nothing to lose. Talladega is in the playoffs. It's the third race before the end of the season. Like he can go out and learn stuff here. He doesn't have to be super aggressive early because he's locked in. Like he can't go up, can't go down. A win would be awesome. So, and I haven't listened to his podcast this week, but it doesn't shock me that he kind of thinks exactly what we're kind of thinking here when it comes to how this race is going to kind of play out. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate the 25-1. I never hate the top 10 at plus money for Denny because he has figured out the art of speedway racing. He's just been very unlucky with this next gen era car. So I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah, I think he honestly admitted like he didn't really figure out how to deal with this style of drafting in the next gen car, but the style of drafting is now changing. So I think that plays to him. And, if you had told us in the previous generation car, we could get Denny Hamlin 25-1 at the super speedway, we're betting that all day. I mean, we're betting that all day. He's a 6-7% win type guy at these races. And, at 25-1, you just need 4% to break even. So I love this bet. Whether it's win, top 10, any of that stuff, just give me Denny Hamlin to have a great race here for stage one. And your stage one pick, of course, Stevie, to recap, Ty Dillon for a top 10 finish at plus 350. Before we move on to stage two, don't forget to sign up for Action Pro for real-time pick alerts from experts like Brandon Anderson, Stuckey, and our entire Action Network team. Of course, also, you can access our pro projections powered by Sean Kerner, myself, and the rest of our predictive analytics team. Head over to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with the promo code POD20. Don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro. Use the promo code POD20, that's POD20, to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. Also, of course, if you haven't subscribed to Stevie's NASCAR package at Roto-Grinders, we have a special offer for Running Hot listeners. Use the promo code Running Hot, that's all one word, Running Hot, to get $10 off a monthly subscription or $20 off the annual package, where you'll get access to all Stevie's content and my practice flags. Again, head over to rotogrinders.com, use promo code Running Hot to get your discount. All right, on to stage two here, Stevie. We talked about this guy already as well. What do you got here in stage two?
Yeah, I'm going to go to another one here, and it's a guy that is overly aggressive on super speedways with nothing to lose, who has multiple wins on them, and that's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. here at 30-1 to win this race. And he's kind of figured it out in every type of car and every type of package that we've had here, and I think it's just because he doesn't care what people think. He's just going to be super aggressive, so he's going to finish top 5 or he's going to lose and finish 30th, and I just think that that's the mentality that you have to have when you're going to win a race like this. So it's been a rough year for this single car team, and they've said it so many times that like just wins at Daytona and Talladega can change everything for a small team like this. So I'm going to go to Ricky here at 30-1. I love betting him at Talladega and Daytona. I probably hit it a couple times where it's probably paid for itself until he retires, so I don't have to necessarily worry about it too much. But Stenhouse 30-1. I love the aggressiveness. I want an aggressive race car driver, so that's what I'm going with here.
Yeah, I mean, you can never go wrong with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at drafting tracks, especially if they're going to be a super aggressive race and give him more maneuverability. Finished second at the Daytona 500 earlier this year. Obviously has 4 drafting track wins in his Cup career. That's what you want, a guy who knows how to win at these tracks, and he's 30-1, and obviously his win rate at these is way better than 1 out of every 30. So I love this pick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 30-1 to win this race. For my stage 2 pick, Stevie, if we're talking aggression, there isn't going to be probably a more aggressive guy out there other than maybe his teammate, and that is Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece, I'm going to take him top forward 16-1. That gives us a little wiggle room in case, he doesn't quite get the right push and, finishes second, maybe a Chevy or a Toyota passes him. But Ryan Preece, top forward 16-1. He's going to be aggressive. The only way he gets in the playoffs is by being aggressive and finishing up front, which gives him upside. It also gives him massive downside. That's why I'm not looking at like a top 10 bet here. I'm looking at a top forward or a top 3, maybe even a win on this, but top forward I think is my favorite because the forward stable is going to be trying to get Ryan Preece into the playoffs. The forwards want Ryan Preece to be the top forward, especially the RFK guys and, potentially the FRM guys will be going for a win and the Penske guys could be just helping out depending on their situations. So I think Ryan Preece top forward makes so much sense at 16-1. I mean, that's crazy to me at 16-1. He's going to be the most aggressive along with Brad Keselowski. And, if Keselowski finds out he's eliminated by the end of stage 1 or stage 2 because he didn't get enough stage points or SVG got enough, he's going to be pushing Ryan Preece to the win. So the upside is there for Ryan Preece. And instead of taking a win, like I said, to give us a little wiggle room here in case a Chevy or a Toyota gets the right push at the end, I'm going to take him top forward at 16-1. But I like any kind of upside bets, whether it's top 3, win, or top forward. I just think top forward is my favorite of these.
Yeah, you and I were talking in pre-show, and you kind of look at this, and you're like, yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense on the aspect of, like, if I'm Austin Cindric, I'm putting Ryan Preece on my front bumper, and I'm going to the front because you can't beat me if you're only beating me by 1 or 2 stage points for the first 2 stages. So, I mean, I think it's all in on the Ford aspect of, like, I just don't think Brad's close enough. If I'm just being honest, like, he has, like, SVG would have to wreck out, like, as one of the first cars out of the race. And, like, if you're SVG, you just play it a lot more safer. But, like, Ryan Preece, 2 stages of, like, 15 to 20 points, and you're like, now you're in it. Like, now it's a conversation where, like, SVG has to be a little bit more aggressive. So, I mean, Ford, I'm all in on pushing Ryan Preece. If I'm Ford, and Brad Keselowski kind of throwing a fit probably a couple months ago at this point, but about, hey, we need more support from Ford. Well, here's the perfect opportunity for Ford to say, hey, RFK, we have your back. And I think that we're going to see the priority be Ryan Preece. And as much as I love Brad, I just don't think he's close enough to be in that same conversation as Ryan Preece. And I think Brad kind of knows it too. Like, I think Brad's going to be helping Ryan Preece, and he'd love to see 2 of his cars get in the playoffs this year, even though he's probably going to miss it.
Yeah, and we know Chris Busch will 100% be pushing Ryan Preece as well. Like you said, Austin Cindric, that best thing for him to do is just stick to Ryan Preece's bumper. Joey Logano might be the one that he could go rogue just because of his points implication stuff. But at the same time, he's also been one of the most vocal guys about complaining about other Fords pushing each other, not pushing each other very well at certain times, certain spots. Now, obviously, the Ford camp does tend to work very well together. But yeah, I love this bet. Ryan Preece, upside bets, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is Stevie's stage 2 pick, 30-1 to win this race. So that'll do it for stage 2. Of course, we're going to drive through stage 3 as well, take the checkered flag, and end up in victory lane. And this one was easy. I texted Stevie. I was like, victory lane thoughts? And he goes, he texted me EJ, and I was like, I already put him in stage 2. I'll just move him to victory lane. So Stevie, we're going with Eric Jones. What do we got?
Oh, I love this guy. I mean, Legacy is just, they're in a really good spot. Like, we have seen probably the most improvement from them out of every team outside of maybe Spire. And, like, Spire has kind of dropped off a little bit more. Yeah. So I really like where Legacy's at. They have a really good ownership behind them and, like, management. And, like, if you're Legacy this weekend, you're like, we got to go win this race. Like, we got to go win this race between these cars. So you look at EJ, everything looks good statistic wise. And, you and I talk about this guy all the time when it comes to just Daytona in general. Average running position's really good. The potential's there. Top 5 finish, in the next gen era. Like, he has the potential to win. And I mean, if you look at, like, top 20s, he's finished in the top 26 out of 9 races. So he's running at the end of these things. And again, aggressive driver. Eric Jones, very quietly, a very aggressive race car driver. So 40-1, I mean, it was like one of my first bets. Like, I don't even like necessarily think twice when it comes to Eric Jones at Daytona. And like, if you don't love the outright market on him, or like definitely, make sure you're doing your units right on your outrights this week, because you're going to get more than you normally do. But the top 10 market's really good on Eric Jones too. So there's plenty of ways to take advantage of Eric Jones. Top Toyota, like there's a bunch of ways to take advantage of him this week.
Totally agree. Yeah. And like I said, I had him in stage 2, 40-1. And I think this is the type of, he's another one of those where like the first couple races of the next gen era, the first year of it, he was doing great at the super speedways. And it's not that he hasn't done great since, but once everybody started to figure out this style of racing, he kind of got shuffled more out of like being a dominator at these tracks. But I think with this opening back up, with this package changing and things being more aggressive, I think Eric Jones is going to find his way to the front. And I've always said how well he and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. work together. I mean, a Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Eric Jones top 3 parlay or a top 5 parlay or a manufacturer parlay always seems to make sense, because those two, even though they're separate manufacturers, just work so well together, and they consistently have throughout the last handful of years. So I don't mind that as well. If you want to get a little creative and go like Stenhouse win Jones top 3, or Jones win Stenhouse top 3 as part of your parlay, or do manufacturer parlays, those kinds of things, because those two always seem to find each other and link up, and they work so well together. So I always look for that angle when I'm doing some super speedway racing as well. So that will do it for us. Thank you for listening to the Coke Zero Sugar 400 episode of Running Hot, Action Network's motorsports betting podcast. If you'd like to tail some of the bets we talked about today, look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionnetwork.com/bet. Now, we'll be back next week to talk bets for the Cookout Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway. On behalf of my co-host, Stephen Young, thanks again for listening. We'll see you back here next week on Running Hot from Action Network.